Well, the Acolyte Season 2 has been cancelled. If only there was a way to express how that makes me feel. Oh wait, there is. Deadline broke the news that Lucasfilm will not make another season of The Acolyte. The article doesn't go into any details about the decision, but I think it's easy to understand why Lucasfilm made that choice. The show wasn't that good. The pacing was terrible, the writing was ridiculous, and then there were things like this.
The power of one, the power of two, the power of many.
By the way, one of my friends made that little yip his notification sound on his phone, and it scared the shit out of his dog. Her head shot up and she was looking around like, what the fuck was that? And it just ran out the room. Every time his phone goes off, it brings nothing but smiles to people's faces. Too bad the same can't be said about The Acolyte. I've said my piece about the show in my reviews, but the short version is that it just wasn't that good of a show. The idea was okay, but the execution sucked. That can't be blamed solely on the production team because the real problem was the script. The way that this story was told didn't work, and that would have been obvious on the page. Sometimes the wrong director or actor, bad editing, or studio meddling can ruin a good script, but there's not a lot anyone can do to improve a bad script. If rewriting isn't an option, I don't care how good the directors, actors, or editors are, there's no saving that show. That was the situation with The Acolyte, and that was apparent within the first 3 episodes. The first 2 were boring and slow, but watchable. The 3rd episode was hot bantha poodoo, and the ratings appear to reflect this. Deadline says in the article, quote, "Driven by interest into the venerable space franchise, The Acolyte got off to a strong start when it launched June 4th with 2 episodes, generating 4.8 million views in its first day on the streamer to rank as the biggest series premiere on Disney Plus this year. That tally rose to 11.1 million views globally after 5 days of streaming. Corroborating Disney's data, the series made its debut on Nielsen's Top 10 Originals chart in its premiere week at number 7, 488 million minutes viewed, climbing to number 6 the following week. But The Acolyte could not sustain the momentum, dropping out of the top 10 in week 3 and staying off before returning at number 10 after the release of the finale, 335 million minutes, believed to be the lowest for a Star Wars series finale. Keep in mind that many streaming platforms count incomplete watches in their view totals, so that 4.8 million views could include people dropping out midway through an episode. However, the numbers confirm that there was at least a 30% drop in viewership over the season. That's not surprising because the reviews of the show got worse over the season, mostly because people weren't getting the payoff they expected. Like Deadline says in the article, The Acolyte was supposed to be a mystery thriller, but the show never lived up to either genre. There was very little tension in the show. No real sense of risk, threat, or danger, no building of a plot or a conspiracy that the protagonist discovers, no big bad with a master plan that anyone cares about, so there goes the thriller. The show gave up its initial whodunit mystery within the first 15 minutes of episode 1, and just kept jumping from one half-assed mystery to the next, with none of them having a good setup or reveal. Then there were the important plot points that never got addressed, like why Sol cared about Osha, what were the Space Witches doing, why do the Space Witches turn into black clouds, and how is it that no one on the Jedi Council realized what's going on? With the show losing a major chunk of its viewership midway through the season, and even fans of the show being disappointed by the ending, it's understandable that Disney and Lucasfilm wouldn't make another season. This is the second major flop for a Star Wars TV show, the first being The Book of Boba Fett. There's no benefit pushing the show forward if there's so little interest in the last episode. It'll be interesting to see if this decision affects other shows in the pipeline. Most of the shows are made with the expectation that there will be a follow-up season, but maybe these should be self-contained one-offs. I think that would at least help with the scripting issues because if you only have one season, you might tighten up the script. As for The Acolyte, it's a good example of what not to do with a popular franchise. Star Wars is built around a couple of genres, mostly fantasy, soft science fiction, serials, a touch of samurai films, and a pinch of westerns. If you get too far outside of that, it no longer feels like Star Wars, and there goes the appeal. Star Wars seems to work best when there are Jedi and an empire to fight. That could be distilled down to a faction we follow and a powerful institution that must be defeated. Replace those with the Mandalorians and the First Order, and there's your show. If you stick to that motif, just about anything could work. That doesn't mean you can't play outside that box, but you should remember, it's Star Wars. It's an action adventure. If you keep that going, you can get away with a lot. But if you decide to use Star Wars as a soapbox for your personal issues while taking potshots at Star Wars concepts that people like, and forgetting that you actually do have to tell a good story, well, your show might not get renewed. But what do I know? I'm just some guy.